Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. It was a while since I did my last sutta class with the word of the Buddha. So what I'm going to be doing here, I might be repeating some of the stuff I did last time, is starting with right view. And I'll just start here where we talk about right view. But, I can't forget the first part of this. First of all, we have how, this is on page 18, how we can know right view from wrong view. This is controversial, but it's worthwhile knowing because everybody say they have right view and others have got wrong view. This is what the Buddha said. After my parinirvana, have you got that on the screen? Yeah. Oh, good. After my parinirvana, some will think that the Dhamma has ended and you no longer have a teacher. This is wrong. After the Buddha's parinirvana, the Dhamma and Vinaya will be your teacher. That's a strong phrase which you see often in the suttas, the Dhamma and the Vinaya. Please note there's no mention of Abhidhamma. That came after. Suppose someone were to say, friends, this is the Buddha's teachings, the Dhamma and the Vinaya, that I heard myself from the Buddha. Then you should check that person's words with the Sutta and the Vinaya. If they agree, then you should conclude that this is the teachings of the Buddha. If it disagrees with the Sutta and Vinaya, then you should conclude that this person has wrongly understood the teaching of the Buddha. Or suppose someone were to say, friends, I heard this from a community of senior monastics with distinguished teachers. Suppose someone were to say, friends, I heard this from many learned elders who uphold a tradition. Or you say, suppose someone were to say, friends, I heard this from one learned elder, then you should check the person's words with the Sutta and Vinaya. I did leave out a bit of repetition there because the most important thing, no matter who says it, no matter how powerful, whether the leaders of a tradition or a great senior monastic, whoever it is, then you should check that person's words with the Sutta and the Vinaya. If they agree, then you should conclude that it is the teachings of the Buddha. If it disagrees with the Sutta and Vinaya, then you should conclude that this learned elder has wrongly understood the teaching of the Buddha. So in the end, the Sutta and the Vinaya is our guide to what is right view and wrong view. No matter what teacher, leader of a tradition or whatever says what, we always go back to the Sutta and the Vinaya. So, there's another, this is one of important because some people say different to this. What now is wrong view? And this is from the Brahmajala Sutta, a whole list of 62 wrong views. There are some who state whatever is called sight, hearing, smell, taste, or touch, the five senses. That is impermanent, unstable, non-eternal, and liable to change. But what is called mentality, this word mano, or, and the word is va there, it's an or, not an and, it's called this, or mind, chitta, or consciousness, vijnana, one thing, but they give it different names. That is the permanent essence, stable, eternal, not subject to change, the same forever and ever. That's the eighth wrong view. So many people agree, yes, five senses is impermanent, but the mind, the Buddha is saying that is also not permanent, it is unstable, not eternal, it is subject to change. It's not the same forever and ever. So anyone who says the mind is the ultimate permanent essence, the Buddha states categorically, wrong view number 8. You can't hold that. Now, right view. What now is right view? And this is how the Buddha described right view. The top of the list was the Four Noble Truths. It is the understanding of the Four Noble Truths, suffering, the origin of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the way of practice leading to the cessation of suffering. That is called right view. And that's the essence of right view. The good and the bad, this is also under the section of right view, even though it is much more what you might call worldly. Intentional killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, malicious gossip, harsh speech, useless talk, desire relating to the five senses, ill will and wrong view, these are the bad. Wanting, aversion and delusion, as the three poisons, three defilements, are the cause of the bad. Refraining from intentionally killing living beings, stealing, sexual misconduct, from lying, malicious gossip, harsh speech and from useless speech. And instead, that's just a negative side of what went first. But these next ones are just quite instructive. Instead of saying sensual desire, ill will and wrong view, they have this beautiful, instead of sensual desire, contentment. Instead of ill will, loving kindness. And instead of, obviously, wrong view, the right view. That is the good. And what is the cause of the good? Renunciation, compassion and wisdom are the roots of the good. Now, I'm rushing through this because I'm pretty sure I said this last time, but now we come into much more detailed statements of the Buddha from the suttas about the right view which leads to the understanding of what non-self is. Right view regarding the five components of existence. This is the five khandhas. You view your body as impermanent, suffering and non-self. Not me, not mine, not a permanent essence. You regard experience, Vedana, as impermanent, suffering and non-self. You regard perception as impermanent, suffering and non-self. You regard will, sankhara, as impermanent, suffering and non-self. And that's sometimes, even here we start to get challenging statements. Your will, it's impermanent, it's suffering. To will, to choose, is suffering. And it's not you. If it's not you, then whose is it? You regard consciousnesses as impermanent, suffering and non-self. And very rarely, I think somebody brought that up the other day to me. You mean all consciousness, even your mind consciousness, is that suffering? Yes. That's what the Buddha said. That is right view. It challenges. Why do people want to be conscious, want to safeguard what they think is their will, their choice, when you're safeguarding and keeping something which is dukkha, which is suffering? Now we go on to unprofitable questions. If there's anything you need to ask in a few moments, please keep it in mind. And then after this next little section, I'll ask if there are any questions. If anyone should say thus, I will not become a practicing Buddhist until I discover whether this universe is eternal or not, finite or infinite, or whether my permanent essence and my body are the same, or my permanent essence is one thing but my body is another, or whether the Buddha persists after death, does not persist after death, both persists and does not persist after death, or neither persists nor does not persist. So it does not persist after death. That person would die before they found out. And this is a simile which you can see I adapted, but even though I adapted some of the things mentioned in the simile, the meaning is the same of the original simile. When someone was shot by an arrow, people don't usually get shot by arrows these days, they get shot by guns. Suppose a person was shot with a gun and medics would come to help them. Then the person said, "Hang on a minute, who pulled the trigger? What type of gun did they use? And why did they shoot me? Moreover, let me see your medical qualifications first. I will not let you treat me until you answer these questions." The person would be considered to have wrong view and might die before their questions were answered. Therefore, the one who seeks their own welfare should attend to this injury first, this trauma of unhappiness, pain and suffering. For one with the view, life is eternal, universe is eternal, the holy life is without meaning. If you think that this whole life is eternal, the universe is eternal, why are you here? Because there is no end of suffering whatever you do. And for one with the view, life, the universe is not eternal, again the holy life is without meaning. Your existence is going to end anyway. Whether one has the view the universe is eternal or the view the universe is not eternal, there is rebirth, there is aging, there is death, there is sorrow, crying, pain, unhappiness and distress, the destruction of which I prescribe in this very life. This is the end of rebirth, the end of aging, death, sorrow, crying, pain, unhappiness and distress. That's what the Buddha teaches. Now, that's just the introduction. Any questions on what I've said so far? Yes? Yeah? Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's also what the wise would reprove, then don't follow that. What the wise do agree on, then that's telling you there's something good there. So the Kalama Sutta, and the Kalama Sutta has also, it's not an error in the sutta, the error in the way people understand the sutta. The Kalama Sutta said, don't just understand it, don't just believe it because it's written down there by the Buddha. And everybody believes the Kalama Sutta. So that's against what the Kalama Sutta says. It's like one of the things that I do just to annoy my monks. Sometimes I tell them, don't do whatever I say. And if they think about it, they can't follow that advice. Don't do whatever I say. If they do what I say, then they won't do it. If they don't do what I say, they are doing what I say. So sometimes there's a logical impasse in statements like that. But what the Kalama Sutta was saying, that don't just believe it because everyone's been doing it for such a long time. Yes, yes. So Kalama Sutta is not to just do whatever you want. It's after a while you give more weight to what you read in the suttas and in the Vinaya. I say the Vinaya is not just a group of rules for monks and nuns. There's a lot of Dhamma in there as well. A lot of suttas in there. And so that this is where we use that as the teachings of the Buddha. And one of the problems with those suttas is the Buddha taught in Pali, that's pretty accurate in Pali. Now, what does the Pali mean? when people say the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha didn't teach the Four Noble Truths. The Buddha taught the now I lost my Pali now. Four Noble Truths in Pali. Yeah, the Chattara Arya Satya. Yeah. So sometimes when we translate it into English, we can miss a lot of the teachings of the Buddha. That's one of the reasons why some of the translations which I give here, people can argue with. I stand by what I've translated. Obvious things like samadhi being stillness, not concentration. I've argued that for such a long time now, I don't need to argue it again. But if you think the eighth factor of the Noble Eightfold Path is concentration, my advice is you're missing a point there. And it's also translating, like I already have, the fourth component of existence, sankhara, translating that as will. Simple translation, but very, very powerful meaning. So if you get a good translation, you understand much more. But I've got to be careful I never give a wrong translation. So anyway, I'll go on now to the 5 basic fetters, if that's okay. Here, one who has seen the Dhamma, here, one who has not seen the Dhamma abides with a mind addicted and attached to a view of a permanent essence, a soul, and they do not even seek an escape from the long-standing wrong view of a permanent essence. When the wrong view of a permanent essence has become habitual, it's regarded as a basic fetter. One who abides with a mind addicted and attractive to skeptical doubt, to a belief that rites and rituals are sufficient in themselves to reach awakening, to desire for the 5 senses, to aversion, and they do not even seek an escape from those senses, those states, then when these states have become habitual, they are regarded as the 5 basic fetters. These are called in Pali the samyojana. And for many of you who would love to be stream winners, the most important of those 5 basic fetters, it's the first 3 which stop one being a stream winner, and of those 3, the basic one is a mind addicted and attached to a view of a permanent essence, of a self, a soul. That's a Sakkaya Ditthi, a wrong view. And if you don't understand this, then the long-standing view of the long-standing wrong view of a permanent essence will not be even challenged. Those are the 5 basic fetters, and one of the jobs of our practice of Sila, Samadhi and Panya is to see through that. And especially one who has not seen the Dhamma does not understand what things are fit for contemplation and what things are not. Thus they contemplate on those things unfit for attention and not on those things fit for attention. This is how you contemplate unwisely. Did my soul exist in the past? Did my soul not exist in the past? What was my soul in the past? How was my soul in the past? Having been what did my soul become in the past? Shall my soul be in the future? Shall my soul not be in the future? What shall my soul be in the future? How shall my soul be in the future? Having been what shall my soul become in the future? Or else you are inwardly perplexed about the present thus. Is this my soul? Is this not my soul? What is this soul? How is this soul? Where has this soul come from? Where will it go? Now, the reason why they are unwise contemplation is because you always exist, that this soul, this permanent essence, is what I usually like to translate it as. You always tend to assume in this question, it exists somewhere, you just want to find out where it is. You know, you cannot, I often use the simile of, for want of a better simile, the Loch Ness Monster. Can you prove that the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist? Just because you haven't found it yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Maybe it's just because you haven't looked in the right place yet. And this is one of the problems. Are you sure there's not a soul? Maybe you haven't looked in the right place for one yet. And so those are what's called unwise contemplations. Looking for something, trying to prove it exists, and you never come to a solution. What are you looking for? That's our wise contemplation. So you have these six views about the soul. When you attend unwise in this way, one of six views arises in you, according to the Buddha. The view, I possess a soul, arises in you as true and established. Or the view, I possess no soul, only a material body whose conscious life is a mere byproduct of a brain, arises in you as true and established. And that seems to be the view of many of the scientists I used to hang out with. It's pretty much the view of Stephen Hawking, according to one of his friends, that was my good friend Bernard Carr. Or the view, I know the soul with the soul. Basically, I know, therefore I am. That was the view of Descartes. Arises in you as true and established. Or the view, I perceive there is no soul with a soul. Arises in you as true and established. In other words, that's the view, the soul is, but can never be known. Or the view, I perceive a soul with what is without a soul, arises in you as true and established. In other words, that's the five khandhas, the components of existence, can know an original mind existing outside of the five khandhas. Or else you have some such view as this. It is this soul of mine that speaks and feels and experiences here and there the results of good and bad actions. But this soul of mine is permanent, everlasting, eternal, not subject to change, and it will endure as long as eternity. Now, of all those six views, the sixth one is obviously the most common. It is this soul of mine that speaks and feels and experiences here and there the results of good and bad actions. Should I pause there? Have I confused you? Okay, carry on. Now this next sutta extract is one of my favorites. Venerable Sir, it is said, right view, in what way is there right view? The Buddha replies, the world, Kachana, mostly depends on a duality, on a theory of existence and a theory of non-existence. But for one who sees the origin of phenomena as it really is, there is no idea of non-existence in the world. And for one who sees the cessation of phenomena as it really is, there is no idea of non-existence in the world. Most people are attached to one of these wrong views. But one with right view disengages from such dualistic theories about my soul. You have no perplexity or doubt that what arises is only suffering arising, dukkha, and what ceases is only dukkha ceasing. Your knowledge about this is independent of mere belief and acceptance. In this way there is right view. phenomena exist is one extreme. Phenomena do not exist is the second extreme. Without veering to either of these extremes, the Buddha teaches the Dhamma by the middle. This is the second genuine explanation of the Buddha's middle way. We have the middle way of avoiding the extremes of austere practice and indulgence in five sense pleasures, and also this philosophical middle way between existence and non-existence. The Buddha teaches the Dhamma by the middle. With delusion, avijja as the cause, volition arises. With volition as a cause, consciousness arises. And so on. This is the dependent origination. If there was a soul, a permanent essence, would there be what belongs to a soul, its attributes? Yes, Venerable Sir. Or if there were what belongs to a soul, would there be a soul? Yes, Venerable Sir. This is actually where we know a thing not by what it is, but what it does, its function. This is okay? Okay. By what its function is. So if there were like a soul, a permanent essence of you, can we know it by what it does? If it doesn't do anything, basically it doesn't exist. Since the soul and attributes of a soul are not apprehended as true and established, then this basic belief, namely this is the soul, this is the world, after death I shall be permanent, everlasting, eternal, not subject to change, I shall endure as long as eternity, would it not be an utterly and completely foolish belief? So instead of having a theory of who you are, you instead investigate what you would do if there was somebody in there. What its attributes, what it owns. You know a thing by what it does, its attributes, what it owns, much better than having a theory of what it actually is. Does that make sense to you? So who are you? Jeff, who are you? Don't say you're a man or a nice helper, someone who helps on arms round every Saturday morning. Well, there again, I'm giving the answer, aren't I? You know yourself by what you do, a retired man. Your attributes, what you do. That's often how we know what a thing is, by what it does, what it owns. So this is actually where we find to investigate what a soul, a permanent essence would be. What would a permanent essence do? What would it own? If it doesn't own anything, doesn't do anything, then basically it doesn't exist. It's a nice way of looking at what a soul would be. Buddha actually says, since the soul and attributes of a soul are not apprehended as true and established, wouldn't it not be an utterly and completely foolish belief to think that the soul is? Such speculative beliefs are called the thicket of views, the wilderness of views, the contortion of views, the procrastination of views, the fetter of views. Shackled by the fetter of views, the unenlightened person is not freed from birth, aging and death, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, unhappiness and distress. They are not freed from suffering, I say. Any questions on that so far? The next passage is also, I've quoted this a lot, it's a beautiful passage. The unenlightened worldling might experience revulsion from this body. Let its importance fade away and be liberated from it, from your body. Why? Because growth and decay are seen in this body. Moreover, it's born and it dies. You see that in yourself and others. It's very hard to ignore that truth. But that which is called mind, or mentality, or consciousness, this is another place where you see these three things, the mano, citta, vijnana, are actually alternative words for the same thing. And I say that because in the Pali, there are things called singular and plural, but that and that pronoun is the singular form of the pronoun. It's not those things which are called mind, but that thing which is called mind or mentality or consciousness. The unenlightened worldling is unable to experience revulsion towards it. Let its importance fade away and be liberated from it. Can you feel revulsion and boredom and a sense of ennui, that's a French word, towards your consciousness, towards your mind? Have you had enough of your mind? Or are you still quite fascinated by it? The unenlightened worldling is unable to experience revulsion towards it. Let its importance fade away and be liberated from it. Why? Because for a long time you have held, appropriated and grasped the wrong view. This citta, or mind, or consciousness, whatever you call it, is mine. This I am. This is the permanent essence. It's habitual attachments over many lifetimes. And of course this simile you've heard me say heaps and heaps of times. Suppose a fire was burning in front of you. Would you know that a fire was burning in front of you? If someone asked you what the fire burned in dependence on, how would you answer? You would answer that the fire was burning in dependence on the fuel of grass and sticks. If the fire was extinguished, and the word for extinguished is nibbutto, it's a past participle of this phrase which we usually know as the name nibbana. If the fire was extinguished, would you know that the fire was extinguished? Yes. If someone then asked you, where did that fire go to when it was extinguished? Did it go to the east, west, north or south? How would you answer? The question makes no sense. The fire burnt in dependence on its fuel of grass and sticks. When that was used up, not getting any more fuel, it became extinguished. It didn't go anywhere. So too, where does the enlightened one go after death? The question makes no sense. That's from the Agiwachagota Sutta. Of course. No, it's what we call in Buddhism the mind-made body. So it's when you do really die, it's the stream of a continuity of experience, which means that now you feel yourself in a body similar to what you had before, but not a physical body. It's made of the mind, and it's incredible that it actually looks like you were when you passed away. And so that sometimes people see you, they can recognize you. You know, the first ghosts which people see, which are just, people haven't been reborn in the ghost realm. They just left their body and the stages in between. And they can manifest. If you died right now, I'm not asking you to, but you would actually still have the same face, the same hair, and even the same t-shirt. So people would recognize you, and you would feel like you had a similar body. This is just the continuity of the process of who you were before.
So I didn't see a figure or just sort of like a stream.
Yes, because if you're sensitive, sometimes you can see things leaving the body. But it's usually not from the head or from the feet. It's usually one of those, not two at the same time. And I say that... Okay, they didn't know which way to go, so they tried another door. No, I met... No, not two, no. Only one, yeah. But I just mention that because be very careful. There was a scam over in Malaysia and Singapore. They would get monks to chant when a person was close to death. And they would tell the family, just please, when a person dies, feel their head, feel their feet, and find out which is the last one to cool down. Because if the last thing to cool down is the head, that means that the stream of consciousness left their body through their head, which means they're going to go to heaven. If it left through their feet, it means they're going down to hell. Now, I think any doctor or nurse would know that when the body starts to die, all the energy usually goes to the head to keep the brain going, the last thing which needs to keep working so that things like the heart and everything else can be properly regulated. The feet aren't really that important. So it is natural that the last part of your body which will cool down when you die is your head. So it's not because the monks or nuns did some fantastic chanting. Even if, like Adolf Hitler had his head examined when he died, that would be the last part which went cool. It didn't mean he went to heaven. It's just the nature of the body. The brain is the last part to cool down. And that was a scam. But anyway, this is sometimes what happens. Not the soul, no. Yeah, it is stream of consciousness with a mind-made body. Quick one, Eddie? Eddie wants a quick one. Yeah. Indeed, that's what we're talking about. And yes, I know, but right now we're actually quoting what the Buddha said about the soul. But, yeah. Even the 31 planes of existence. Yeah, but even the 31 planes of existence, if you look very carefully, there's some planes of existence which are not included in those 31. The Kidda, the playful devas, in the realm of the playful devas, that's not in any one of those 31 planes of existence, but the Buddha say they exist. So the 31 is just trying to specify and different planes of existence. The planes of existence, people may argue with me about this, but I maintain that they can be increased and decreased. Especially like even the hell realms. Many different types of hell realms. just not one hell realm, but we just call it one realm of existence. The realms of the 32. Now this is 2,500 years ago since the realms of the 32 existed. What happens if one of those either goes to a higher realm or gets the end of their term in the realm of the 32? Does it always have to be called the realm of the 32? Are the pleasures exactly the same as they had 2,500 years ago? These are a good description of what was there at that time, but they can increase and decrease in some areas. So, yeah. It's not really the place, it's the people in the place. Yeah. Yeah, but even those, yeah, okay, but the beings create the place, not the place creates the beings. So, even those realms of existence are not pre-existing before somebody goes into them. That when a person goes into them, it's like they create those realms of existence for themselves. So the 31 planes of existence are not so fundamental as the different natures of beings who get reborn into them. Okay. So views and discussions about the soul. Now one who says experience, this is my translation for Vedana, is my permanent essence, should be told there are three kinds of experience, pleasant, painful and neutral. Which of the three do you consider to be your permanent essence? When a pleasant experience is felt, no painful or neutral experience is felt. When a painful experience is felt, no pleasant or neutral experience is felt. When a neutral experience is felt, no pleasant or painful experience is felt. You can't have three experiences at the same time. So, which one is you? And that's actually an interesting statement, because sometimes we think this is the real me. When you're pleasurable, you're wise, you say something good. And when you make a mistake, that's not the real me. You can't have it both ways. Pleasant experience is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, bound to decay, to vanish, to fade away, to cease. And so too are painful experiences and neutral experiences. So anyone who on experiencing a pleasant experience thinks this is my permanent essence must, at the cessation of that painful, pleasant experience, think my permanent essence has gone. And the same with the painful and neutral experience. Thus, whoever thinks experience is my permanent essence is contemplating something in his personal life, in his present life, contemplating something in his present life that is impermanent, a mixture of happiness and unhappiness, subject to rising and passing away. It is not fitting to maintain experience is my permanent essence. But anyone who says, experience is not my permanent essence is, only it doesn't experience anything, should be asked, if your permanent essence had no experience at all, could its existence be known to itself? To which one would have to reply, no. If it didn't experience anything at all, it couldn't know itself. Therefore, it is not reasonable to maintain experience is not my permanent essence. My permanent essence is, but has no experience. And anyone who says experience is not my permanent essence is, and does not experience anything, only my permanent essence performs the act of experience. That is its nature. Should be asked, well, if all experience absolutely and totally ceased, could its existence be known to itself? To which one would have to reply, no. Therefore, again, it is not tenable to maintain experience is not my soul is, but does not experience anything. Because my soul performs the act of experience, for that is its nature. Because that's what actually happens when the mind starts to disappear. in the deep meditations. You don't experience anything. Experience is not my permanent essence. It cannot be. From the time when a meditator no longer regards experience as the permanent essence, or that the permanent essence is, only does not experience anything, or that the permanent essence is and does not experience anything, only the permanent essence performs the act of experience, that is its nature. When you have such a view, you cling to nothing in this world. Not clinging, you are not agitated by anything. And not being agitated, you gain personal liberation. And you know rebirth is finished. The holy life has been fulfilled. Done what has to be done. There is nothing more here. Comments? In other words, just penetrating the delusion of a permanent essence, my word for like a soul, then you see there's nothing there. Then that is one of the major causes for the end of rebirth, for your permanent not permanent enlightenment, for your enlightenment once and for all. If anyone says, the mind is the permanent essence, that is not reasonable. The appearance and disappearance of the mind are discerned. And since its appearance and disappearance are discerned, it would follow my permanent essence appears and then disappears. Have you noticed your mind appearing and disappearing? When you understand what your mind is, to have a mental experience, you have to have the mind base, something comes into its range, you have the contact, and then the mind starts to exist. When those mind objects disappear, the mind turns off. It's not like a TV screen, which as long as there's some electricity and a program to be received, it can turn on. If there's no program to receive, you turn off the electricity, you can still see the TV screen. This is when it's not turned on, the whole TV screen disappears. There's nothing left. That's a simile. It's not some base which is always there. And sometimes it's turned on, there's an image on it, sometimes there's nothing on it. This is the mind totally vanishes. If anyone says mind objects are permanent essence, mind consciousness is a permanent essence, experience is a permanent essence, wanting is a permanent essence, sankhara, these things come and go, all of these things, which is why it is not reasonable for anyone to say mind objects, mind consciousness, experience or wanting, sankhara, is a permanent essence. This is why the Buddha just separated, analyzed, all of these sensory experiences, the sense bases, into these different parts. When you can see how particular it is, just by this part, this part, this part, this part, and how you need 2 or 3 of these to turn something on. And when these things don't come together, they just don't exist. This is where the Buddha's teaching on sensory experience, sensory basis, sensory objects and stuff. You can see the reason behind this. You can have one but not 2 happening at the same time. Things which you thought were always there actually turn off and disappear. They cannot be you. Thus the mind is not the permanent essence. Mind objects, mind consciousness, mind objects, experience and wanting, all these are not a permanent essence. It were better for the uninstructed worldling, this is the Buddha's saying, it would be better for the uninstructed worldling to take as this soul, this body, rather than the mind. Why? because this body lasts for up to 100 years or even longer. It's much more stable than this thing we call the mind, with its consciousness always coming and going. But that thing which is called the mind, or mentality, or consciousness, arises as one thing and ceases as another all the time. Oh, Prem did have his hand up first. Well, I will try and explain. I don't guarantee it, but I'll try. More than no thoughts, no mental objects. Because even when you have no thoughts, when you have stillness there, you still have the mental object of stillness you can be aware of. You can be aware of peace. But little by little, so the 5 external consciousnesses, the sense consciousness, seeing, smelling, touching, so seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, those 5 consciousnesses, you can see them ceases when the jhanas or even nimittas happen. You can't hear anything. It's gone. And then the mind starts to disappear. Just the 4 jhanas, the 4th jhanas is when the mind gets its ultimate, strongest mindfulness in the 4th jhana, really peaceful but very stable, peaceful mindfulness. And then that mindfulness, that mind starts to disappear. That's what the arupa states are. You start to see that happening. The disappearance of the mind is unstable. And that's a very clear experience. In other times, you know that the mind is here for one moment, and then maybe you go into hospital and have an injection to anesthetize you for some procedure. Where does your mind go then? The mind has stopped. You don't feel anything. You don't know anything under anesthesia, unless you may have an out-of-the-body experience. But every time that even a monk is put under anesthetic to have some procedure, I always ask them, did you have an out-of-the-body experience? And they say, no. I think I even asked you when you had a procedure recently, I asked you, please come and see me in my cave if you have an out-of-the-body experience. You never came. Where did your mind go? It stopped for a while. Is there? Not flawless. The trouble is, when there is a break, you don't notice it, because your mind is not active. It appears continuous. That is the problem. Remember those old little pieces of drawings of the stick people, and you'd just flash them very quickly, and it would appear like it was movement, because you couldn't see the spaces when there was nothing. That's how movies work, how your TV works. It's just a bunch of dots on the screen. But they persist for such a short time. But we don't notice that. We can't perceive that. It's a delusion of our life. Continuity. Anyway, you had the next question.
I just want to explain. No, I can't remember which one it was.
If you remember, you can ask again. Eddie had another question. Sorry making you work.
Ajahn Brahm, very deep teaching, you know.
Good.
Is this sutta trying to relate to the 3 characteristics of our existence? You know?
It's especially
impermanent, no self, okay, it's like and suffering, like the mind where you say it's still. So we realize that there's no self, because if you keep thinking a lot, there's suffering.
Yeah.
Is it trying to say this thing?
In a very powerful way.
Oh.
In other words, the main one is the no permanent essence. Instead of calling it a self, that will take away much of what people take to be themselves. The Buddha is showing all of this cannot be taken to be a self. There's nothing really left to hang this sense of I, me or mine onto. Because some people still say, oh yeah, much of life is not a self. But underneath there is still a sense of I. I am the one who decides to ask a question. I am the one who chose to come here today. I am the one listening to Ajahn Brahm. And it's challenging, all of that. So, many times, actually a long time ago, I just said these two were the two citadels, the main areas where we protect the sense of a soul, of a self. Not the realm of belief, but the realm of will. We always want to be in control. Who wants to be in control? What is it that wants to be in control of your life? That is one place where we have this idea of a permanent essence. That's where we get the idea of my rights, my will. It's almost sacrosanct. And the last place we have, where we have our citadel of the sense of self, is the knower. No means sort of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, but that thing inside of you which can be aware of what's happening. And we always assume that is me. Yes, you may die, but we still have this idea of knowing. We think that's always the same. It's not. This is that simile which I gave of the TV set. TV set, 6 channels on it. There's sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and knowing. And then sometimes you don't expect that when these objects of these 6 senses stop, you expect the TVs to still be there, but the TV goes as well. The TV cannot exist without something to be on its screen.
Sorry, just very quickly, something just came to my mind, and you're the right person to ask, okay, yeah. It just came to mind about bliss and emptiness, which I hear, okay? So in this case, when we realize the impermanence, the no self, or can we call this emptiness? Realize, I think, does bliss arise when we have all this, our mind is clear?
With emptiness, emptiness is not an absolute. It's empty of what? So, right now, this hall is empty of smoke. There's no smoke in this hall. And this emptiness you find, especially in the path of meditation, things are let go of one by one. You don't have an absolute emptiness. This thing empties, and then see what's left. And that empties, and sees what's left. And that empties. And that's why you've heard that some of these deep states of meditation, you get to that arupa state of nothingness. How can you get further than nothingness? And then you get neither perception nor non-perception. What the heck does that mean? That means that your mind is emptying so much, there's nothing even to know the emptiness. Things are turning off. There's nothing left afterwards. And that's with after the 4th arupa, the state of neither perception, the state of, sabbasanya vaidiyata nirodha, when all of the mind stops. You can't know that. There's nothing to know it. All knowing has stopped. The TV screen has vanished. And then afterwards, it turns on again. As you come out of those states.
Is that equanimity, Ajahn Brahm?
Sorry?
Highest equanimity, you know?
No, no equanimity. It's nothing. It's gone. Vanishing. It's nibbana.
Yeah.
Cessation. Where is the flame gone? East, west, north, south? It doesn't apply. The flame's gone out. Okay. One question there, two. Okay, you're very close to see. Okay, then round the back over there afterwards, yes?
Once you come out from that kind of state, how do you know that you had such state?
How do you know you had that state? Is because the last thing you were witnessing was a state of neither perception nor non-perception. And as you come out, the next thing you notice is neither perception nor non-perception. There was a gap between. It's the inference.
You see the gap between.
You infer the gap. You've seen that things are turned off.
The other thing is, it says arises as one thing and ceases as another.
Yeah.
That means, like if it is seeing consciousness,
Yeah.
it passes away as a seeing consciousness, and then another hearing consciousness.
Indeed, yes. And what you start off seeing, it doesn't persist. A different quality at the end.
In here, English, I feel that arises as one thing and ceases as another. That means it arises as seeing consciousness and passes away as some other. It's
Yes,
not like that.
We can say that, that's good enough. It's just a knowing that that consciousness, mind consciousness, is not stable. It keeps coming and going. There's one thing and then another thing. And if you understand what it is, you see it does keep changing. It's not that consciousness is there and independent of what it experiences. The consciousness, the type of consciousness, the experience of the consciousness is totally dependent upon what it experiences. It has a different flavor to it. The consciousness is not some bland thing on which, like a screen on which things are drawn on. They can be rubbed out afterwards. Just when the drawing or the writing on the piece of paper is rubbed out, so does the piece of paper disappear as well. That's what the senses are like.
In your fruit salad example, so the maybe pineapple and then grape.
That's right, yes. Fruit salad is similar, yeah.
Yeah, and then again pineapple.
Yeah.
So that once grape comes up, it disappears, it passes away, and then pineapple comes.
Yeah.
And then that passes away,
Yeah.
then again grape comes.
Indeed, but it passes almost instantaneously. It's there for one moment and it's gone. And another thing comes up. That's
Yeah,
just
but there is a gap between.
They can't see any gap. There's always something in that gap if it exists. That's one of the reasons why when people meditate they think, oh, they lost their breath. You've got something in front of you, what is it? There's always some object. If you're aware of something. You can't have consciousness without an object of consciousness. It's what the Buddha said, the sheaves of reeds, two reeds leaning against each other. One is consciousness, one is nama rupa, the objects of consciousness. You take one away, the other one disappears. Excellent. A question in the back? Yeah?
Thank you, Ajahn. Just a question about, you said that it's easy for lay people to see dispassion with the body.
Oh yeah, I didn't say that. This is the Buddha.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
So, yeah.
Buddha said that. So, In relation to the 5 khandhas,
Yeah?
and when you're trying not to identify with some of it, and dispassion arises, is it with the process of samsara that you get dispassionate about? Or is it with the actual mind?
So the process of samsara?
Yeah, so is it the samsara that you get dispassionate about? That
No,
the
you get-
process just continues? It seems like if you don't do anything about it, the suffering and then
And
the
it's the
process-
the whole process of samsara. That's almost like, where all this is played out. And that's also similar to Eddie's question about the 31 planes of existence, the different places you can get reborn into. Now you're actually seeing that what is actually getting reborn into these planes, and how what gets reborn into these planes almost creates those planes. And it's because of that you realize that how the Buddha is saying is more like the person who experiences samsara, just looking at that when there's no one to get reborn anywhere in samsara. For you, samsara is finished.
But when you have an idea of yourself,
When you have an
When you
idea
think-
of yourself, you're
and
stuffed.
then you think about samsara, it's scary, isn't it? Because you're going to be in this thing again and again and again. And
Again, yeah.
And then you get dispassion because you go, oh my God, I don't want to be this
Yeah.
infinite number of lives doing the same thing, suffering.
Yes.
And I find that's the dispassion. It's not with my mind so much, but more with the process that's unending if you don't do something about it.
Yeah, and this is when you do something about it, you understand it's a thing called your mind which creates the problem.
So the mind being the 4 khandhas other than the senses?
The mind is like, it's part of the 5th khandha, but it's also where there's a mind, that's the mind consciousness, the 6 consciousnesses of the 5th khandha. Where there's a mind, there will be a will, and there will also be perception and experience of the mind objects. So you can't just think it's just 1 khandha, it's basically 4 khandhas. Okay.
I was going to just say, so when you have a thought, and something talks in your head and you say, oh, you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Who's talking to you? And who's listening?
Exactly. So it's not anybody talking to anybody. This is a sensory experience happening. That's it. I'm going to just continue a little bit until I get to the category or the sutta extract which comes after before Sotapanna. And I'm going to finish the day before Sotapanna, so at least this time I know where I finished. Because the last time I'm not quite sure where I finished. So an enlightened one, or one on the path to enlightenment, understands what things are fit for attention and what things are unfit for attention. Thus they do not contemplate things unfit for attention, only those things fit for attention. So you contemplate, usually this word I use these days is explore. This is suffering, dukkha. This is the origin of dukkha. This is the cessation of dukkha. This is the way leading to the cessation of dukkha. That is what's called wise contemplation. Okay, now this class is streamed overseas, so we do have some questions. I'll try to answer these as best I possibly can. From Bulgaria, can a being with a developed mind perceive time as flowing faster and slower? Did the Buddha mention this particular psychic power? No, he didn't, but it can be done. Perceiving faster or slower is not really the main point. He can do these things, but why? It doesn't really make any sense. If that really happens, it's just the perception is getting a bit sort of out of sync, I would say. It is true that when you get into deep meditation, sometimes hours pass by, you're perfectly mindful, and the way you perceive time changes. Do you think that maybe the Buddha, Yeshua, Muhammad, Krishna, and Moses were the same person? No. why does the Buddha neither appear or reappear after death? He vanishes. What is the Buddha? Just the 5 khandhas, those 5 khandhas cease. What happens to the flame after it goes out? It doesn't go anywhere. If Buddha cannot be defined by the 5 aggregates, how is it the Buddha defined then? The Buddha is defined as the manifestation of the 5 aggregates now, always changing and subject to cessation. If all Dhamma are anatta, from anicca and dukkha, then why is there Nibbana the ultimate bliss? Because Nibbana is a cessation of things. Nibbana isn't a state, it's when things vanish. Nibbana, so to Ajahn, how do we change wrong view into right view? Practically, by practicing the Eightfold Path. The whole of it, not just the 1 or 2 factors. And I always say the most important part of that is the experience of the jhanas. When things have disappeared in the arupa states, how can things start again? Is it because the body is still viable? It is because karma, the way that karma works, when you come out, sort of it activates, or the process is activated again. It's not just because of the body, it's just because of that stream of consciousness is still viable. I did those very quickly because they weren't so pertinent to actually what I was saying in this the class today. This is the word of the Buddha, not the word of Ajahn Brahm, and I'm trying to focus it and not allow the discussion to go too far off the central message of the nature of the mind and the nature of cessation, to see things actually vanishing. Okay. Are you all happy? Any more questions before we finish off? Yeah, you got another one. Okay, come on, quick. It'll be the last question.
So is cessation always after you have a lot of joy and peace so that your mind can handle it?
You have the joy and peace before cessation happens. And as a result of knowing what cessation is, there's a path out of samsara. And just that understanding, I didn't get to the stream winning yet, but if you could see that page, the Sotapanna or stream winner, the quote from Dhammapada 178, absolute rule over the earth, going to heaven, supreme sovereignty over all worlds, the fruit of stream winning surpasses them all. Even knowing that you're bound for cessation. Yeah! So that is one of the ultimate happinesses. Of course, once you've ceased, that happiness ceases too. Okay, thank you for listening. Next 2 weeks, am I going to be here next 2 weeks? We'll continue on the next time I'm doing one of these classes. 2 weeks' time? Am I going to be here? Maybe, I'm not sure. I have to check my calendar. Did you enjoy it? Good. I hope I challenged you. Because sometimes as a monk we think, I don't want to teach lay people too deep stuff. They might not come back again. Good, okay, thank you. Okay, so now I can pay respects to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha.